Shoot, I didn't get that. I didn't get that on camera.
I'm close enough. Just lick you and eat our...
Let's establish some healthy boundaries.
Let's, as we talk about healthy relationships,
licking
don't randomly lick your friends. Hi, I'm Beth.
I'm Deb.
And this is the Beth and Deb show. Today we're addressing student athletes.
Student athletes.
Especially. And I actually was not a student athlete. I was in high school.
Can you believe that I was not a student athlete?
I can sort of believe that you weren't.
That's okay.
Okay.
I won't be offended by that.
This is the person who thought the NCAA was the NCAACP. NAACP. They're quite different organizations.
It's a very similar acronym.
But they're
all
not.
The N's and the A's and a C and...
Yeah. So I actually married a student athlete, and so I know a little bit about student athletes, and have worked clinically with some student athletes too. Yeah. And we've had athletes in our classes.
Yeah, classes. We love athletes. They're great.
We love y'all.
Hardworking bunch of people.
Love it. So one of the things we want to talk about are relationships with student athletes, especially because, there's a lot that goes into it. It's like you're trying to balance time management because you got practice and you've got class and you've got to study and you've got to keep your grades up. But then you want to be a regular college student and have relationships outside of that. And you also have relationships with your teammates, some of which you don't love because you didn't actually pick them. Right? So you have to be in relationship with them. And you maybe wouldn't be in a relationship with them if you weren't on a team with them. Yeah. So what comes to mind for you right off the bat?
Well, I'm thinking this age, you're pretty new to romantic relationships.
Sure.
You're learning a lot about what works, what doesn't work. You may have had dating lots of people in high school or no people or one serious relationship. Any way that you put it, you're probably going to be going into some different stuff. So it's hard, that's really difficult. We admit that it's not easy to learn how to do relationships well because there's just no training manual that we give people okay, you turned 18 and now here's all you need to know about relationships. It's trial and error, and that's normal and it's good, but there are some things that you can do to make it easier on yourself and also balance everything else that you have. I think we tend to see students who, once they get into a relationship, it's so emotionally charged and it feels good and it, that's all you want to do. That's all you can think about is this other person that you are suddenly attached to, and everything else just kind of doesn't feel important anymore. But especially I think for student athletes, you have so many obligations that don't allow you to just get caught up in this whirlwind of a newfound love. So it's navigating that and balancing how do you have a relationship but also be a good athlete and team member and student and all these things that you have to do.
Yeah, story from my own life that I was dating my now husband when we were in college together, and he said he has 3 B's in this order: basketball, books, and Beth. Yeah, and it was in that order. And
how did you feel about that?
Well, so he was always upfront about that.
Yeah.
That his main priority had to be
basketball.
And sometimes, actually, now that I'm saying it, hopefully he doesn't watch. It may have been books, basketball, Beth.
Oh, really?
All I know is I was third.
Okay, yeah, always.
But
no matter.
I think he really understood that those 2 things had to be his priority because basketball was his job, and to do his job, he had to keep his grades up.
Right.
And so if he did not keep his grades up, he couldn't keep doing his job, and so there were definitely times where I was like, wow, that kind of sucks to be third on the list. But I think it really allowed him to not feel as much of the pressure, and it just kind of worked out for us. But I think even to kind of what you're saying too, it's like you're so new at it, new at these relationships. You have somebody who's kind of into you, you're really into them, and then you have a blow up, and then you are just like...
It's turmoil.
It's turmoil.
And it
consumes you. Yes. And then you go to practice and you take it out on everyone else or your performance.
You're not doing your best. Yeah.
And then your coach is riding you because rightfully so. It's like going to work and not showing up at your best and not expecting your boss to get mad at you.
Yeah.
So I think on top of that, it's also... you call up your other 18-year-old friend who also doesn't
know anything.
Yeah, and so you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I should do. And then they just kind of fire you up. Yeah. So I think, finding an older, more mature, trusted friend or something, but it's kind of like two people who don't have experience.
They're probably not going to find the right path for this.
Yeah.
Well, I think your example is really great. So, obviously it worked out for you.
Yeah, we're married.
You're married, and it, you found some healthy things. And what I heard in there is that, number one, he made it clear to you at the start that his priority was going to be basketball and books and you.
Yes.
But that you can't expect him just to spend all his time and devotion, for you.
Yeah.
And second of all, that you were supportive of that, right? Like, he found somebody who was willing to say, yeah, I want you to succeed in these two areas. I know they're important, and so I'm not going to demand all your time.
Yeah. And it's funny because people this age, I know, because I think you and I both work with this age group sometimes, that it's like, I'm not even sure I would want him to be fully consumed with me. You know what I mean? Like, so I think some people would be like, why am I not your first priority?
Right.
But then when they are, like, if they were to do that, I'd be like, oh my God, he's so clingy.
Smothering me.
Oh my God, I'm breaking up with him. So
and that's probably part of the learning process too, of like, okay,
Yeah.
what do I really want in a relationship? But I think it's key to find somebody who is supportive of you in the things that you're trying to achieve and succeed. If you find somebody who also has their own life and things that they want to prioritize, and are working toward goals of their own, is really important as well for healthy relationships. And so you can create those boundaries together of like, okay, this is what our healthy relationship looks like. It includes a lot of you because you're important to me, but it also includes a lot of books and basketball or whatever the sport is.
Yeah. And let's talk just a minute about drama.
Oh.
Right? On the team, off the team, and again, the team is really just kind of a stepping stone to whatever your job is going to be later, probably. So if we're having problems with your team, it may bleed over if you can't kind of figure out how to deal with it. So relationship drama, what do you do?
So what do you think causes the most relationship drama? It could be jealousy, misunderstanding,
Definitely.
poor
Poor communication.
Liking other girls' photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Things like that. Not having clear boundaries of what your expectations are of the other person. Maybe what you're sensitive to and what you need, what's kind of out of bounds for you, and what the same thing for that other person, like what triggers them to get riled up. And then not being able to talk about it before it all explodes into a messy, dramatic mess.
I think drama, totally, it's a communication issue, and it's a difficulty with confronting problems.
Yeah.
And I am totally guilty of this. You
are?
Yes. That there are times where it's easier just to avoid it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm kind of nervous about that confrontation, so I just am going to avoid it.
We'll just hope it goes away.
Yeah. And it doesn't.
It doesn't usually, right?
And then it blows up, and then it's dramatic, and when it blows up, it's never an opportune time.
Right.
And so I think learning to confront problems before they grow to big problems, because usually you say something that I misinterpret, and then I go home and I stew on it and I think about it, and at the end of the night I realize that you hate my guts, and you always have, and you always will, and you're nothing but that's what happens for us. Instead of being like, hang on, wait a minute, what you just said, like,
I'm filtering.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I'm stressed about basketball, and I'm stressed about this test coming up, and I'm not in the right frame of mind to take this, in a good way, and it's just it could take one little thing and it all blows up. So not letting it get to the point where it's like ready to just explode, but talking about it at the first mention of feeling something just, uncomfortable or upsetting.
And if you feel like, the two of you can't have like a reasonable conversation, like have your coach join you.
Yeah.
And say, hey, can we have a meeting together? Like we've got some beef, we've got to kind of air it out.
Yeah, and that's with teammates. If you're in a relationship, there's so many good communication resources online about how to approach conflict with people. There's a way to listen correctly and a way to talk more helpfully about what's bothering you. So instead of like attacking and blaming, which will only bring up defenses, you have to kind of express how you're feeling, seek to understand each other and find common ground to work through it, which is really, really hard.
Really hard.
Like, we're admitting it does not come naturally, but again, like we were talking about adulting, this is what adults do. If you're going to be successful, you learn to deal with conflict. You force yourself to watch videos like this about, what can I do to change this pattern, or to be more healthy and less stressed and less drama and less emotional turmoil.
And what responsibility do I have to accept?
Yes.
What part did I play in that? How can I be reflective?
How can I empathize with the other person? And
put
I'm
myself
feeling
in their
mad at them
shoes.
and think that they're wrong, but if I saw it from their perspective, how could I understand why they're doing this, or why we don't understand each other?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so if you're having struggles in your relationships, feel free to hop on, send us an email question. We'd love to have more questions from anyone, and we'll see you next time.